Part 60. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 591. Hearing what Nicholas said, Wang Feng's eyes lit up and he immediately asked, "How many are there?" "There are not many people, less than 1,000 people, but those people are all in the same survival point as the survivors who were left outside by you before and were later killed by the dark bloodthirsty. Not all of them came here before, but left part of it." Nicholas said, "Now that there is no threat from the dark bloodthirsty, the 11 people who were kicked out by us returned to their survival point, found those who did not dare to come here, and then said to them, 'Of course, all the things I learned about you have been processed. So those people don't dare to come to us now. Instead, they follow them to live in a small town and open up farmland. Their life is relatively comfortable. We once wanted to go over and kill them, but after thinking about it, I think it's better to leave it to you to handle it yourself.'" "Haha. Okay. Then I'll go take a look tomorrow. Let's go. Let's not talk about these things today. We will call the first batch of people who came here with us. We are going to have a big dinner." When Wang Feng heard this, he was in a good mood and said with a smile. Hearing Wang Feng's words, everyone in the room burst into joy. The invisible embarrassment that had originally occurred to Wang Feng slowly dissipated as Wang Feng's attitude was no different from before. In the apocalypse space, after all the loot that Wang Feng had at sea during this period was consumed, the barbecue feast was finally over. During this period, Nicholas also brought out a lot of fine wine, all of which were cleaning up the city. Discovered at the time. Otherwise, this thing is good. At least it has no shelf life. On the contrary, the longer the better, even the wine that will deteriorate has not changed at all. So this barbecue feast will make those who followed Wang, the survivors who came here with the wind, drank to their heart's content. While the wine was in full swing, the previous grudge between Wang Feng and them completely disappeared, and they seemed to have returned to the time when they first gathered in the underground hall and had a barbecue together. Early the next morning, although Wang Feng had no intention of saying goodbye to them, when they were about to leave quietly, they saw many of the survivors who were all drunk yesterday standing outside, preparing to see them off. After bidding farewell to these people, Wang Feng and the others began their new journey into the distance. Their next goal was the town that Nicholas mentioned yesterday. After the 11 people left, Nicholas initially did not monitor them, but when survivors arrived one after another, he inadvertently heard about the 11 people from the mouths of those survivors. When he learned that after these people left here, they returned directly to the survival point where they set out to gather those who had not left, and continued to spread rumors and slander Wang Feng, Nicholas couldn't help but be furious. Originally, he wanted to directly lead people to destroy these ungrateful bastards. You don't talk about the real enemies, the dark bloodthirsty people. Instead, he used his energy in the internal fighting of human beings, just for the hatred in their hearts. In the eyes of Nicholas, such people are not worthy of living in the world at all. He even regrets that he should not let them go in the first place. It is better to listen to other people and kill them directly. However, Nicholas did not expect that it was his original decision that made Wang Feng and Chris, and even the fate of the entire human race, change because of these 11 people. Perhaps because they were afraid that Nicholas and the others would cause trouble for them, the town the 11 people chose was far away from the underground fortress where Chris and Nicholas lived. Wang Feng and the others drove the hurricane and it took them 2 full days to reach the town where they were. After this period of construction, they had dug out a large underground survival point in this town. There were no survivors living in this town before, so there were no underground facilities in the town. They did not dare to go to the survival sites that had been inhabited before, even if there were no people in those survival sites now, because they were afraid that Nicholas would find them. Trouble. They know that what they do will definitely reach Nicholas's ears, so if they are discovered by Nicholas again, they must have the same idea. Naturally, they don't know that their whereabouts have long been grasped by Nicholas. It's just that Nicholas planned to leave them to Wang Feng, which is why they survived until now. Today, the person they feared even more, Wang Feng, has found them. Hurricane didn't have any scruples and rushed directly into the town. The people in the town couldn't help but panic. Because of the propaganda of those 11 people, everyone here knew that Wang Feng and the others had a large armored vehicle. And the reason why they didn't dare to go to the underground fortress where Nicholas was located was because the 11 people told them that those people who were all killed by the dark bloodthirsty people because they were refused entry by Wang Feng. They died at the hands of Wang Feng, the people Wang Feng killed with his own hands. Moreover, Wang Feng also planned to kill all the survivors who had not listened to him and gathered in the underground fortress. In short, in the mouths of these 10 people, Wang Feng had become an outstanding figure. An unstoppable murderer. Since they were originally from these camps, the others did not doubt what they said, so they followed them and traveled a long distance to this remote town. When they found that there were really no dark devourers on the road, these survivors believed what the 11 people said even more, and they had to stay away from the underground fortress of Wang Feng and Nicholas. But now, those people found that the huge armored vehicle mentioned by the 11 people was rushing towards their town. Needless to say, the one driving this armored vehicle must be the murderer. These survivors who were busy farming in the town couldn't help but feel desperate. They hid so far away, but they were still found by this murderer. Couldn't this guy let them go? Think about it carefully. Except for not responding to Wang Feng's call and gathering in the underground fortress, they didn't offend Wang Feng in other ways. Why would this guy chase them and kill them? Soon, the news of Wang Feng's arrival was known to all the survivors. The survivors who were digging underground also came out and came to the ground to gather with others. The organizers of these people, the 11 guys who slandered Wang Feng, naturally appeared. They were persuading the survivors at this time, trying to persuade them to flee immediately. More than 1,000 people fled at the same time, and Wang Feng and his men certainly couldn't take care of them, so some people could still escape, and the most important thing was that these 11 people knew very well that even if everyone didn't run, the only ones who would really die were these 11. That's why they persuaded everyone like this. Only in this way, maybe some of them could survive. If they stayed here, they would definitely die. But this time their persuasion seemed to be ineffective, because the survivors were now very angry. They didn't understand where they had offended Wang Feng, so that he was so persistent in chasing them. Isn't it just that they didn't respond to your call? As for such a big crime. Besides, they still have cars. Even if they run, can they run faster than them? And even if we escape this time, what will we do next time? You don't need to persuade us. We won't leave this time. I'll stay here and ask them why they have to kill us. We'll die knowingly. A survivor interrupted the 11 people's endless persuasion and shouted angrily. Yes. We won't leave. Anyway, we have nowhere to go. Even if we can escape this time, can we run forever? Without food and a place to stay, we will die sooner or later. Let's die knowingly. Okay. We won't leave. At worst, we will die together today. We will have a companion on the road to the underworld. Yes. No one will leave. Why leave? Everyone is here, it's too late to leave. Hearing the survivors start, the other survivors couldn't hold back and shouted loudly. In fact, humans are indeed a very strange animal. When they were hunted down by the Dark Devourers before, they didn't have any anger, only fear, and no one thought of asking those Dark Devourers why they wanted to catch them. But when this role is replaced by a human, they will feel unwilling and angry, as if other creatures can kill humans without reason, but if humans want to kill people, they must give a reason. The 11 people found that they could not persuade these guys. After looking at each other, they looked at the hurricane that had entered the town, and immediately got into the crowd, then passed through it, and then fled in all directions. This was a person's action. Wang Feng saw it clearly, and a sneer appeared on his face, and then called Xiao Wu and others, "Catch all these 11 guys back, don't let any of them go. But remember, they must be alive." Before Wang Feng finished speaking, Xiao Wu, Qiu Jian, number 7 and Qingxun and his wife rushed forward like lightning, chasing the 11 figures who were fleeing in panic. Wang Feng stood on the hurricane, looked at the survivors in front of him who were still looking at him with anger, and suddenly laughed and asked loudly, "Do you think you are dead today?" Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 592. Wang Feng's smile was seen in the eyes of the survivors, and they couldn't help but shudder in their hearts. Because of the propaganda of those 11 people, Wang Feng's image in their hearts was that of a bloodthirsty demon, and the smile now is, of course, the smile of a devil. Just die. It's no big deal, a thin figure suddenly walked out of the crowd. Anyway, I have to hide here and there all day long, like a mouse. I'm tired of it, so just die. But before you die, can you tell us why you must hunt us down? We have hid here, but you still don't let us go. Is there really such a big hatred between us? The thin figure became louder and louder as he spoke, and he was very excited. He seemed to be risking his life. Wang Feng looked at this guy and found that he was a rather handsome guy, with good features and good looks, and he was very young, only around 24 or 25 years old. Unexpectedly, his words were very courageous. "Who told you that I am here to hunt you down?" Wang Feng asked with a smile. As soon as Wang Feng said these words, not only the guy who just spoke, but also the other survivors were stunned. Then they started looking everywhere, but they didn't find those 11 guys. No need to look for them, they have already run away, because if they don't run away, their lies will be exposed. Wang Feng said lightly, "I guess, in their mouths, I should be a heinous person, even worse than the devourer of darkness. He's also a scary guy, right?" Everyone looked at each other, no one knew what to say. What they knew about Wang Feng did come from the people who had escaped. What they said at that time was that they were the ones who were killed when Wang Feng was carrying out the massacre. Those who escaped by chance, and among nearly 10,000 people, they were the only ones to escape. Of course, in their mouths, people like Oscar are all dead. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to tell lies, so they would simply kill all those people, which would better highlight Wang Feng's cruelty. At this time, Xiao Wu and the others had returned. None of the 10 people had escaped. They were all captured and thrown in front of the hurricane. "I came here to chase people, but it's not you, it's them." Wang Feng looked at the 11 people lying on the ground like dead dogs and said, "As for the reason, I'm not going to explain it. You can guess whatever you want. And you can also stay here and live in the underground fortress if you want. I can only tell you, then Bien will be safer and should be a better choice." None of the surrounding survivors spoke. They just looked at each other and then at the 11 guys on the ground who had brought them here. These 11 people are still awake now, but their eyes are full of despair, because they know that in Wang Feng's hands, they should have reached the end of their lives. "Throw them all into the car, let's go back," Wang Feng said softly, and then Xiao and the others grabbed the survivors again and threw them directly into the hurricane's carriage. "Let's go," Wang Feng glanced at the other survivors again and said softly. Hurricane turned around and prepared to leave. "Wait. You mean, everything they said was lying to us? The people we met with you before are not dead?" The young man suddenly shouted at this time. "He is dead, but for the specific reason, you can go to Nicholas and the others to ask. If you are interested, I think Oscar will tell you the reason," Wang Feng replied. "Oscar is not dead," the young man was stunned. He originally thought that all the people who arrived at the underground base had been massacred by Wang Feng. "Of course not, the only ones who died were some people I thought deserved to die," Wang Feng said, then he ignored these people and left directly. Until the hurricane disappeared from their sight, These survivors still stood there blankly, looking at the direction in which the hurricane disappeared. "Do you think he is telling the truth, or are those guys telling the truth?" After a long time, a survivor asked. "I don't know, but what those 11 people said is definitely not true. If this guy is really so bloodthirsty, can we still be alive now?" "Yes. Didn't he also say that Oscar and the others are still alive?" "Yeah. Yes, I feel something is wrong now. If this guy is so bloodthirsty, why are there so many people gathering in their underground fortress?" "Yes. I was also surprised at first. Why did they target our survival points? It seems that it was these 11 guys who somehow offended these Orientals and were driven out by them, and then if you recruit more people, they will come back to deceive us so that we can escape with them, so their chances of survival will naturally be greater. Then what should we do? Stay here? Or what the heck? Even these Easterners didn't kill us. Could it be that when we get to that underground fortress, our own people from Zizhu continent will kill us? I want you to stay. I want to go over there to find Oscar and the others." "I'll go too. I'll go too. What's the fuss about? Everyone can just go. What's the point of being in such a place where birds don't shit? Let's go. Let's go now. Let's go, let's go." Wang Fen naturally didn't know that not long after he left, the survivors headed towards the underground fortress where Nicholas and the others were. When they got there, they would naturally be able to understand what happened before. But Wang Fen has no time to care about this issue now. What worries him now is that Chris said he would need 20 or 30 people to do the experiment, but now he only has 11, which is far from the number Chris asked for. Wearing a lot. When he came to this town before, he planned to capture 50 or 60 people and go back, because maybe Chris would ask for them again later. However, when he actually saw those people, Wang Feng suddenly realized that he couldn't do it. "Get your hands on this one." Although they were all with the 11 people, Wang Feng knew that they were deceived by one person, so they felt resentment and fear towards him. Therefore, in the end, Wang Feng only caught the 11 people back. Wang Feng had no scruples about those who sought their own death, but Wang Feng really could not convince himself of those who had not offended him. Although Wang Feng could also use saving the future of mankind as an excuse, or even deliberately not explain the situation, when these people did some impulsive things due to misunderstandings, he could justifiably catch them and return them to him, Chris, and feel better. But doing this is actually no different from arresting people directly. At least, that's what Wang Feng thinks in his own mind. After all, people can't deceive themselves. If he really does this, Wang Feng will lose his bottom line. Once this bottom line is breached, it will be difficult to establish it again, and since it is called the bottom line, it must not be touched. Thinking about it, Wang Feng refused to accept those survivors before because they were unwilling to rescue his companions. If he does this now, what is the difference between him and them? In order to break the seal and strengthen his own strength, he would arrest people randomly and sacrifice their lives to achieve his own success. Even if he succeeded, Wang Feng felt that he had no face to appear in front of others. He even felt that even Xiao Wu and the others will all look down on themselves. Thinking of the 11 survivors in the carriage, Wang Feng sighed softly. In fact, these people were the first to question his potion. There was no big contradiction. It was just that he did not give them the potion. When he saw after the other people's strength was all improved, their hearts became unbalanced and resented, and then they went further and further, and eventually, they were sent to a dead end. Now think about it. It seems that many things in life are caused by some trivial things, and finally they accumulate until they are out of control. Crazy. That guy wants more than 20 people, so we are going to take these 11 back. Qiu Jian looked at the frowning Wang Feng and asked softly. He knew Wang Feng's troubles, so he was ready to help. He solves it. What else should I do? Should I just ignore the good guys and bad guys and just catch enough? Wang Feng shook his head. I'll go, Qiu Jian said calmly. You may have a psychological burden for arresting people randomly, but I don't, because I know that there are no good people among these people who can survive in the apocalypse. Everyone has a damn reason. You, me, Xiao Wu, I hope that everyone in the base will really use the standards before the end of the world and the moral standards of mankind to demand that no one should die. We live in the end of the world, and the weak will prey on the strong. If you are always so soft-hearted and always use bullshit morals and bottom lines to demand yourself, you will kill many people. Sometimes, killing one person can save more people, which may not be a good thing. Take those guys who are unwilling to go back to save people. If you didn't let them make their own choice at that time, but directly sent those who refuse to go, kill them, I think only a few or a dozen of them will die. And you just wanted to prevent yourself from appearing cruel and easy to kill in front of others, so you just let them make their own choices. But just because of this, there were so many of them, because they didn't believe that you would be so cruel. Really, if you don't open the main entrance, your entire army will be wiped out when the Dark Devourer attacks. Now if you think about it carefully, what do you think will be the result if you kill that Robert directly and then tell them that those who don't save others will all die? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 593. Hearing Qiu Jian's words, Wang Feng was shocked. He thought about it carefully. If he really did what Qiu Jian said, and killed Robert directly and acted more aggressively, then the result might be that they would all go to rescue people obediently, regardless of whether they were willing or not. Then, they would naturally be able to enter the underground fortress, and would not die in the subsequent attack of the Dark Devourer. Although this might also take some cowards into the underground fortress, now that he left, the underground fortress also took in the survivors who did not dare to come before. Really, according to Qiu Jian's words, those guys who died outside were killed because he refused to kill them? Wang Feng's eyes suddenly became confused at this time. He suddenly didn't know whether what he had done was right or wrong. Take Fang Jiao for example. He let her go twice, but she would come back every time. Although it has not brought any real losses to Wang Feng yet, who knows what the scene will be when she appears again. The first time he let her go in Wu village, he could say that he was sentimental, but the second time at the seaside in Jianguan town, he let her go even though he knew she was hopeless. If Xiao Wu or someone else had an accident and died at Fang Jiao's hands during the encounter in the sea, then should he be held responsible? Looking at Wang Feng's eyes, Qiu Jian sighed in his heart. He had killed his girlfriend with his own hands, and then he was alone in this apocalypse. It can be said that his personality and mind had changed greatly. Patting Wang Feng on the shoulder and seeing Wang Feng still looking at him with confused eyes, Qiu Jian said seriously. Madman. I know that you and Duan Lei both want to be good people. Maybe because you were soldiers before, you still have that sacred belief in your hearts, but don't forget that we are now in the end times. For everything we do, don't think about whether the thing itself is right or wrong, but look at what our goal is in doing this thing. Like I said just now, if you killed Robert, although you killed someone, and he didn't seem to be guilty of death, but you saved those people with him and let them survive. And you didn't, so not only Robert died, but also the other thousands of people died. Now we need humans to do experiments. If we succeed, we may defeat the Devourer, and many humans will be able to survive. If you think that you can't capture people casually, and because of this, the seal cannot be broken, and the entire human race is destroyed, then is it worth it? In fact, you think so, which is a kind of selfishness. Because you want to try to prove to others that you are a principled person, a trustworthy person, and a person who makes people see only light and no darkness. In order to maintain your image, you will maintain your so-called bottom line. I even bet that you must have thought just now that if you really don't distinguish right from wrong, after capturing those 11 people, if you directly capture 19 more among those survivors, if you can make up the number Chris mentioned, will Xiao Wu, me, and number 7 look down on you for this? Crazy. You are very capable. I even think that you appear just to save the world. Countless people have changed because of you, including me, Xiao Wu, the people in the North Continent and the West Continent, and all the people in the Hope Base. Wherever you go, the world will change because of you. Maybe this is why you try hard to maintain your image and your bottom line, but I think it is not enough for you to do so. Even human beings may be destroyed because you cherish your feathers and care about your image. Your goal is to save mankind. You are a savior, not a leader of mankind. What you are doing now is what a leader should do. Only leaders need to establish their own image and maintain their own justice. And the savior needs to have no taboos. Just do what needs to be done, and don't care about anyone's eyes and comments. In the past, you were willing to sacrifice your life to throw yourself into the missile to save others. You can even give up your life. Why can't you bear the infamy for saving humanity? To save humanity, bear the infamy. Wang Feng was suddenly shocked, and then a trace of clarity appeared in his eyes, and he kept muttering this sentence, to save, bear the infamy. Seeing Wang Feng's state, Qiu Jian stopped talking. He knew that Wang Feng had understood what he meant. Now, it depends on whether he can figure it out. Zhang Ruhao, Qiu Jian turned around and shouted, turn around, drive the car back to the town just now, and we will gather enough people. Zhang Ruhao, who was driving the Hurricane, agreed and was about to turn around, but Wang Feng suddenly said, no. Go back directly. Qiu Jian was stunned. Then he looked at Wang Feng, and saw that Wang Feng was smiling at him, and his eyes were no longer confused, but bright again. Have you figured it out? Or don't you understand what I mean? Qiu Jian asked a little confused. I understand. I understand what you mean. Wang Feng patted Qiu Jian on the shoulder and said, Qiu Jian. Thank you, I used to be too cautious. Sometimes, because I couldn't let go, I made simple things complicated, and the loss was even greater. Now I understand, in order to save, I have to bear the infamy. Haha. What you said is right. However, I may also be deceived badly because of your words. You have figured it out, then why are you still unwilling to turn around and go back to arrest people? Qiu Jian asked doubtfully. You have already said that I am the savior. In other words, I should bear the blame. Go back first and hand these people over to Chris. As for what is not enough, I have my own way. I listen to your words. Maybe I will change a little, but there are some things that I will not give up. Wang Feng raised his head to the sky and said firmly. It took Wang Feng and the others 3 days to return to Chris's home. When they saw Chris was almost going crazy. He roared directly at Wang Feng, I said I want to live. Does it take so long to catch people for experiments? They're all born now? The origin of life. It turned out that on the 3rd day after Wang Feng and the others left, Chris's life source was all used up, and the experiment was forced to stop. For a scientific lunatic like Chris, this was like the middle of the relationship between men and women. It was like being interrupted suddenly, almost suffocating him to death. Now that I have seen Wang Feng, of course I have to hurry up and get the source of life first. In fact, if people don't have it, they can wait for a few days. Chris can improve his research from other aspects first, but once the source of life is cut off, Chris' research it can't go on no matter what. Wang Feng's outing this time, plus the delay with Nicholas and the others, has been almost a week. In other words, Chris has been holding back for 4 days. Wang Feng reached out and threw a few bottles of life potion directly to Chris, then pointed to the people behind him and said, "I brought them to you." Chris snatched away the life potion like a hungry wolf pouncing on food. Without even looking at the survivors, he ran back to the instruments and started his own business, ignoring Wang Feng. Wang Feng was stunned for a moment, then shook his head, turned around and walked out. He was given the person anyway, and he couldn't run away if he was left here. Even if he was eaten by the darkness devourers who were eyeing him, it was none of his business. In the next few days, Wang Feng, in addition to consuming all the food in the apocalypse space because of his party with Nicholas, spent most of the day taking Qiu Jian and the others out to sea to replenish some food. Other than that, he stayed in Chris's nest and did not go out. The whale was still guarding the beach with due diligence, but this time Wang Feng did not give it the source of life, because now it needed to be given priority to Chris for experiments. After Apocalypse communicated with the whale did not have any objections, mainly because he did not dare to have it, so after taking Wang Feng and the others around for a while, he sent Wang Feng and the others back to the beach, and then continued to wait here for Wang Feng and the others. When a week passed, Wang Feng became a little anxious. He really didn't have much time. He originally planned to visit Nanzhou continent when he returned. Now it seems that there is no time to wander around like that. As long as he gets a way to break the seal, he will immediately return to Dongzhou continent and Hope Base after meeting Nicholas. Now Wang Feng goes to Chris's research room every day to see if there is any progress. In fact, he can just wait here. If there is any progress on Chris' side, he will ask the Dark Devourer to come to him. But he was anxious, so he went to see it every day. Regarding the fact that the number of people captured was not enough, Chris complained once and then nothing more happened, so Wang Feng saved a lot of trouble. On this day, Wang Feng was chatting with Qiu Jian and the others while having a barbecue, but Johnny ran in. When he saw Johnny, Wang Feng was overjoyed, because when Chris usually called him, he would directly send the Dark Devourer. Johnny was actually asked to take action this time, which was obviously an important breakthrough in his research. "Johnny, did Chris ask you to come to me?" Wang Feng stood up and asked. "That's right. Chris has something important to ask you." "Let you go right away," Johnny said. "Let's go." "Let's go together," Wang Feng waved to Xiao Wu and others, and then walked out quickly. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 594. When Wang Feng hurried to Chris's laboratory, he found that Chris was frowning and looking at a tube of medicine in a daze. This tube of medicine was different from Wang Feng's medicine. It was placed in a test tube. Among Wang Feng's heart sank, because when he saw Chris's expression, Wang Feng knew that the situation seemed to be progressing not as he imagined. "What's wrong?" Wang Feng asked. "There's something wrong, but I can't find the reason." Chris still frowned and said, "I need a large number of mutant beasts, and they are all unsealed, so I think the reason should be, no. It can definitely be found in mutant beasts." "Okay. I'll go to the sea to catch some mutant beasts right away," Wang Feng said immediately. There is only half a year left. Wang Feng must save every minute. After finishing his words, Wang Feng turned around and walked out. "Wait," Chris shouted, "you can't use creatures in the sea. You have to have mutant beasts on land, preferably primates. The body structure of marine mutant beasts is completely different from that of humans, and they can't be used if they are captured of." "What?" Wang Feng almost jumped up, "a mutant beast on land? Also primates, but in large numbers? This might be okay on other continents, but in this Zizhu continent, it is simply a dream. Due to the previous massacre by the Dark Bloodthirsty, the mutant beasts on the entire western continent were almost wiped out. Where can Wang Feng find so many primate mutant beasts now? I also know that this request is a bit excessive, but that's the fact. This seal is very strange. I don't have a sample for comparison now, so I can't tell what's wrong for the moment. Come and take a look, Chris said, and then led Wang Feng to a room in the laboratory. After entering the room, there was a huge iron cage inside, with 11 monkeys in the cage. Strictly speaking, they should be humanoid creatures, because their eyes can clearly tell that they are intelligent creatures, and after seeing Wang Feng, their eyes all shot out hatred, as if they wanted to use their eyes to kill him. Able to cut Wang Feng into pieces. From their number and their gazes, Wang Feng could easily guess that these monkey-like creatures were the 11 survivors he had brought back before and gave them to Chris for experimentation. This is... Wang Feng looked at Chris in confusion. I don't know if it's a problem with DNA or RNA. In short, I'm now sure that the seal in their bodies has been unlocked. As long as you use your medicine and add a lot of life energy, their strength can be increased without limit. But when the seal was released, their genes changed and became like this. Chris explained. I think you won't be willing to turn yourself into this in order to unlock the seal in your body, right? Wang Feng looked at those people again. Their current appearance was somewhere between monkeys and orangutans. Although they still had no tails, they had short yellow and white hair growing all over their bodies, and there were also a lot of wrinkles on their faces. The body became rickety, and sharp nails grew out of his fingers. Chris was right, even if it was to survive, not many people would be willing to become like this. This could be seen by looking at the eyes of these people looking at him. When they met Wang Feng before, the eyes of these people were full of fear, but now, they looked at Wang Feng with only hatred. Presumably even if Wang Feng said that he would kill them immediately, they would not do it. What fear would there be? In their hearts, death is better than living in this image. If Chris hadn't locked their limbs, maybe they would have the courage to commit suicide now. After sighing, Wang Feng walked out of the room, and then asked, Chris, are you sure that if you can get a primate mutant beast, you will be able to find a perfect way to break the seal? Wang Feng didn't talk about cracking the seal, but said cracking the seal perfectly, because if he just cracked the seal, from this aspect alone, Chris would have succeeded. Okay, Chris said without hesitation, now the seal has actually been cracked, and the people you just saw have only changed their appearance, and their intelligence and other aspects have not been reduced in any way. So, this is just one of the steps. I haven't figured it out yet. If I find some mutant beasts that are similar to humans but have no seals, I will definitely be able to find this key point. Okay. Then get ready, pick out the instruments you must bring, and go out to sea with us and return to Dongzhou continent, Wang Feng said decisively. Okay. I'll get ready right away. We can set off in half an hour, but everything else is easy to say. There is only one large instrument. If we don't have a big ship, we can't bring it with us, and the sea water may cause damage to it. Chris hesitated and said, moreover, I can confirm that there is absolutely no similar instrument in Dongzhou continent, and it is the key to my research. Without it, I would have no way to carry out my work. Which one is it? Wang Feng asked. Chris walked up to a large instrument and patted it. It's this human genetic analyzer. Wang Feng looked at the size of this thing and felt relieved. Although this thing was indeed not small, at least it could not hold a hurricane, but his apocalypse space had no problem. Wait. This instrument is made based on the principles of biotechnology. If your space cannot accommodate living things, it cannot be installed in your space. Seeing Wang Feng walk into the instrument, Chris shouted hurriedly. What? Wang Feng was stunned, and then communicated with apocalypse in his mind, can this be collected? This instrument has a strong reaction to life energy. The intensity of this life fluctuation has exceeded the carrying limit of apocalypse space. If it is forcibly collected, it may destroy this instrument. Apocalypse's answer made Wang Feng very depressed. Is this instrument a living body? Wang Feng asked. That's not the case, but it is driven by life energy. If I guess correctly, part of the life source you gave Chris was consumed by this instrument. Apocalypse replied. Chris, it just can't touch the sea water, right? Wang Feng looked at Chris. Yes, Chris nodded. Okay. Find something to seal it up, and we'll take it with us. We don't need a boat. I have a whale that can carry it out to sea, Wang Feng said. Really? Good. I'll get ready right away. Chris' eyes lit up, and then he directed the dark bloodthirsty to put the instrument into a large metal box and locked it up. Okay, this metal sealed box was originally its packaging box, so there will definitely be no problem, but it's best not to experience a strong shock. If it's damaged, I can't repair it, Chris said. Let them carry it, and we'll set off now, Wang Feng said, and then looked at the dark bloodthirsty and said, what will happen to these guys if you leave? Wang Feng actually wanted Chris to destroy all these dark bloodthirsty, but thinking about these guys staying here, when the Devourer comes in the future, they will also be a powerful fighting force, at least they can help Nicholas and others delay for a while. If all are destroyed, Nicholas and others will be relieved in the past 6 months, but when the Devourer comes, Nicholas and others will be in a bad situation. Originally, if Chris could crack the seal on this continent, Wang Feng would tell Nicholas the method and leave them some potions and other things that could improve their strength. Now, once he leaves the Western continent, even if he finds a method, Wang Feng has no time to come back and inform them. When the Devourer arrives, the Western continent can only rely on its own strength. There is no other way. Wang Feng must first protect his hope base. Only when he has spare power can he help others. He can't give up the hope base for anyone. Even the northern continent, Wang Feng has no time to go. Although in terms of the number of people, the survivors there far exceed the hope base, but Wang Feng will never sacrifice the people around him for more people. People. Always selfish, everyone is the same. They? Whatever, anyway, after leaving this time, I may not be able to come back. You decide. If you want to destroy them, I will let them all jump into the sea, Chris said indifferently. Chris had previously valued these dark bloodthirsty ones, because he felt that these redemption angels were his hope to rule the world. Now that he knew the information about the Devourer, he naturally knew that his dream of ruling the world had been awakened in advance. Relying on these guys, he might eventually be used as food by the Devourer, so Chris thought that it would be better to follow Wang Feng now. If he really unlocked the seal, this mysterious Oriental man might really be able to block the Devourer's attack. In that case, he would be able to survive. Compared with life, whether this planet is ruled or not is not so important. If you leave the Zizhu continent, will the orders you give them still be effective? Wang Feng asked after a moment of hesitation. Of course, I don't control them mentally. As long as I give them orders, they will definitely obey them before they are cancelled, Chris said proudly. Wang Feng thought for a moment, looked at the dark devourers again, and then said, that's it? Give them a death order that will never be cancelled. After that, send another dark devourer to the underground fortress I was in before and deliver a letter to the people there. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 595. After hearing Wang Feng's words, Chris was stunned. What death order? It means to let them stay in the city and never go out. If any creature attacks here, let them attack with all their strength. Can they do this? Wang Feng looked at Chris and said, will they disobey your orders because of your departure? No, Chris nodded affirmatively and said, if I give this order, they will never leave the city before there is a new order. That's good. You let them stay in the city, no matter what happens, they are not allowed to leave the city, Wang Feng said. They should be a great help in dealing with the devourers, so keeping them can also be regarded as your redemption of your previous sins to the survivors of the Western continent. Humph. This is my redemption. Chris muttered, but after all, he still followed Wang Feng's order and issued orders to those dark bloodthirsty people, asking them to guard the city and not go out. After arranging the dark bloodthirsters, Wang Feng asked Chris to send a dark bloodthirster to deliver a letter to Nicholas. In the letter, Wang Feng told Nicholas that he had left and asked them to take care of themselves. Chris would leave with him, and Wang Feng did not hide it from them. He told them in the letter and warned them not to come to Chris's lair as the dark bloodthirsters here would not go out. As long as they did not come, there would be no danger. Keep these dark bloodthirsters and let them hold the devourers for a while when the devourers come. Because he did not get the method to unlock the seal, Wang Feng did not plan to meet Nicholas in person. Anyway, he had already said everything he could explain in the letter. As for what Nicholas and his men would do, that was not something he needed to care about. Everything was ready, and it was finally time to leave. Wang Feng looked at the city still occupied by the dark bloodthirsters and breathed a sigh of relief. He also knew that these dark bloodthirsty creatures would not play a big role when the Devourer army descended. After all, the lowest level combat unit among the Devourers, the Predator, was a pseudo-level 5 creature at the same level as these dark bloodthirsty creatures. The two sides were equally powerful, but in terms of intelligence, the Predator could absolutely kill the dark bloodthirsty creatures in seconds, not to mention the absolute suppression in numbers, so Wang Feng knew that they could only delay time a little. However, this was all Wang Feng could do for the West Continent and Nicholas. Time was running out, and all his energy had to be put on the Hope Base. He had to at least confirm that the Hope Base was safe before he could take care of other places. After preparing everything, Wang Feng finally arrived at the seaside, ready to set off and return to the East Continent. Except for the largest instrument, all the other instruments Chris needed were loaded into the Apocalypse space by Wang Feng, and the largest instrument was carried by 200 dark bloodthirsty creatures, who would follow them and return to the East Continent together. Since whales cannot get too close to the coast, Wang Feng and his team still rode the hurricane into the sea first, and only got on the back of the whale after reaching a certain distance. As for the box containing the instrument, Wang Feng and his team had tied a lot of wood on the box so that the box could float on the sea. Even if something unexpected happened on the way back, the box would not sink into the sea. Wang Feng knew that Fang Jiaojiao had not given up on finding trouble with him, and he might meet her again on the way back this time, so he made preparations in advance. The whale carried the hurricane and the instrument on its back, and even the 200 dark bloodthirsty people took a ride. Fortunately, the back area of the whale was large enough, and it didn't feel crowded at all. The whale rode the wind and waves and headed straight towards the direction of the Dongzhou continent. Looking at the vast sea, Wang Feng's mood became comfortable, and his worries about breaking the seal were temporarily forgotten. Anyway, he couldn't do anything about it. After returning to the East Continent, he would mobilize the power of the entire Hope Base to capture a primate mutant beast. As for whether he could succeed in the end, it all depended on luck. Qiu Jian and Number 7 were also sitting on the hurricane at this time. Except for Xiao Wu and Qing Xuan, everyone else was outside and didn't want to hide in the narrow compartment of the hurricane. As for Johnny and Chris, the two guys fell asleep in the compartment of the hurricane when they went out to sea. Because it would take a long time to return to the East Continent, and Chris couldn't do research during this time, so Wang Feng simply gave each of the two guys an evolution potion and let them go to improve their strength. That day, Wang Feng was sitting on the hurricane, chatting with Qiu Jian and Number 7, but after just a few words, Wang Feng sighed, then stood up and looked forward. Number 7 and Qiu Jian followed Wang Feng's line of sight and found that there seemed to be nothing in front of them. While they were wondering, Wang Feng gently said two words, "Down." Thanks to Tiankai, Wang Feng knew that what he was worried about had finally come. Tiankai just told him that a large amount of life energy waves were approaching them. Wang Feng knew without even thinking that it must be Fang Jiaojiao who had controlled some marine mutant beasts again and came to cause trouble for him. To be honest, Wang Feng didn't want to meet Fang Jiaojiao now. Although he felt that even if Fang Jiaojiao controlled a more powerful mutant beast, she couldn't really hurt him. However, because of Chris and the instrument, no matter which one of them, there couldn't be any problems, otherwise, the seal would definitely be hopeless. But since she came, he could only fight. Now he was in the sea and there was no place to hide. Xiao Wu, Qingxuan, come up and prepare for battle, that woman is here again, Wang Feng shouted. Hearing Wang Feng's voice, Xiao Wu and Qingxuan and his wife all climbed up, and then closed the lid, so that Zhang Ruhao, Chris and Johnny inside should not be in any danger. Brother Feng. What kind of guy did that crazy woman bring this time? Xiao Wu came to Wang Feng and asked. How would I know? Wang Feng shook his head, no matter what it is, just kill it. We must not let her run away this time, otherwise she will come back. Got it? Brother Feng, Xiao Wu nodded, then looked ahead, frowned and said, where is she? Down there, Wang Feng said, I don't think she will show up easily this time, and this time, she seems to have found a lot of marine mutant beasts. Has her strength also improved? Fang Jiaojiao's strength has not improved, but after leaving last time, Fang Jiaojiao learned about the strength of Wang Feng's group, so during this period, she has been constantly looking for suitable mutant beasts. She was also lucky that she actually found a group of mutant great white sharks. Fang Jiaojiao risked her life and barely subdued the king of great white sharks. In this way, she can control the entire group of sharks through this king of great white sharks. There are more than 100 great white sharks in this group. Under the command of Fang Jiaojiao, they are approaching Wang Feng and his group. Their first target is the whale. Fang Jiaojiao knows that as long as they kill the whale, Wang Feng and his group will have no hope of escaping and will eventually be torn to pieces by the sharks. Fang Jiaojiao is also very satisfied with the group of sharks she tamed this time. This group of great white sharks was originally the overlord of the ocean. Now they have mutated and are even more ferocious. Since this group of great white sharks has no natural enemies in the sea, their strength has increased very quickly. Almost all of them have reached the level of level 5 creatures. The king of great white sharks has even broken through to level 6. Originally, with Fang Jiaojiao's strength, there was no way to control the king of great white sharks. However, after seeing this group of great white sharks, Fang Jiaojiao suddenly realized that this might be her only chance to kill Wang Feng and take revenge. Therefore, Fang Jiaojiao risked being torn to pieces by the sharks and used all her abilities. In the end, she managed to control the great white shark. For this reason, Fang Jiaojiao gave up all the other marine mutants she controlled, and even the small fish used for reconnaissance. Moreover, Fang Jiaojiao regarded this attack as her last chance to kill Wang Feng, so she was very careful. She did not appear in front of Wang Feng first, humiliate him with words, and then launch an attack, as she did before, but chose to attack directly from underwater. However, because of Tiankai, her sneak attack was doomed to fail. Moreover, as the sharks kept approaching, even the whale had already felt something was wrong, stopped moving forward, and turned around to escape. Wang Feng frowned, because the whale was only in a cooperative relationship with him, and he could not control it like Fang Jiaojiao did. The whale did not abandon them and run away directly, which was already a great face. After noticing that the whale was running away, Fang Jiaojiao stopped hiding and directly ordered the great white shark king to lead the sharks to charge. The entire shark group immediately sped up and rushed towards the whale. It's a shark. Let's go down and intercept it. As they were no longer hiding, the sharks also floated to the surface of the sea, revealing their dorsal fins. Seeing so many sharks, Wang Feng's face changed. He said to Qiu Jian and the others, then jumped into the sea and faced the sharks. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 596. Puff, as Wang Feng rushed towards the sharks, he swung Apocalypse and killed the shark in the front. However, what surprised Wang Feng was that the sharks didn't seem to care about the death of their companions. They didn't even care about it. They just passed through Wang Feng and rushed towards the whale. Wang Feng's heart sank. He had imagined that these sharks would be attracted by his attack. Now he found that it seemed that the main target of these sharks was not them, but the whale. The whale naturally discovered this situation. Without anyone's instructions, it chose to escape. After all, it was not controlled by Wang Feng's mind and had its own independent consciousness. However, the sharks didn't seem to intend to let it go. They swarmed towards the whale. The whale fled desperately, but fortunately, it didn't get rid of the hurricane on its back. It just kept running wildly on the sea. A large group of sharks chased the whale. Wang Feng would not let this happen, so he and Xiao Wu attacked the great white sharks that rushed past them. Kill them! Kill! Don't leave any alive, Wang Feng also commanded his dark bloodthirsty. When Chris fell asleep, he had handed over the control of these dark bloodthirsty to Wang Feng. In this kind of battle, the dark bloodthirsty can still play a significant role. Be careful, number 7 has not made a move, because he has eaten enough. If he kills these guys by himself, it will not be of any benefit to him. Therefore, this guy will be lazy and stay on the roof of hurricane. But now, number 7 has found something unusual. He doesn't know anything else, but at least he feels that Wang Feng and others seem to have gained more truths during the battle, so now number 7 has gradually focused his attention on others. Now number 7 saw a great white shark opening its bloody mouth and biting Qian Qian. Even if she was a zombie, she would probably die if bitten. So number 7 didn't think much and rushed out to block Qian Qian to resist the attack. But because number 7 directly knocked Qian Qian away, his body just appeared in front of Qian Qian, and Qian Qian could see number 7 being swallowed by the shark. Old 7, after this period of time, Xiao and the others had already become familiar with number 7. They didn't treat him as an alien at all, but as one of their own kind, and they were treated as humans. Now seeing that number 7 was willing to take risks for Qian Qian, the other guys were anxious and rushed forward to cover him, but Wang Feng's speed was faster than theirs and he blocked them directly. Protect this guy, don't let it get hurt, Wang Feng said to Xiao Wu and the others after killing several sharks in front of him. We also know that this is definitely necessary, but there seem to be too many mutant beasts on the opposite side, and we can't just kill them all directly. Then just kill as many as you can, Wang Feng sneered, but his hands did not stop at all, and he continued to slaughter those great white sharks. So big, Qian Qian exclaimed when she saw the great white shark in front of her, but it didn't seem to attract anyone's attention, only Kingsun's face seemed a little ugly. Although Wang Feng and the others tried their best to stop them, there were still more than a dozen sharks that broke through their blockade and came to the side of the whale. In the eyes of these great white sharks, this whale is just an ordinary whale, but it has the bad luck to meet Wang Feng, which will improve its strength. Therefore, under the command of the king of great white sharks, these great white sharks did not take this whale seriously. Basically, in their hearts, this whale should be the same as the garbage that can be killed by one bite. But now they should have learned a lesson. The great white shark did not give up resistance as they imagined, nor did it directly admit defeat. Instead, it lifted its tail and wanted to fight against this group of sharks. When the sharks saw this situation, they were all angry. What a joke! We are a group of great white sharks. You are a lone whale. Don't let us eat you obediently. You dare to put on airs? What is this situation? Is it looking for death? Like this whale, no matter what strength it has reached, it should be killed directly, and it can't be kept for a minute. Because of being enraged, The sharks rushed towards the whale more quickly, but their current target has become the whale's tail. As marine mutants, they certainly know that as long as the whale's tail is bitten off, it will have no strength to resist them. However, this whale was not willing to be bullied by these sharks. After seeing more than a dozen sharks approaching it, the whale floated out of the water, raised its huge tail high, and then slammed it heavily on the water. Bang! Amidst the earth-shattering sound, the two sharks were stunned by the violent vibration, their bellies turned white, and floated out of the sea. At this time, if the whale had time, it could turn around and kill the two sharks one by one. But the whale is not free now. After slapping, it continues to swim away. It knows clearly how many white sharks are behind it. Even with the power of its master, Wang Feng, the whale does not think it can win, so its most important thing now is to escape. Wang Feng and his team did not delay. Those who entered the sea to intercept the great white sharks were treated the same way, that is, they were ignored by the great white sharks. It seems that they were guided by Fang Jiaoxiao. These great white sharks did not attack Wang Feng and his team. Even if they killed their companions, they still passed them and pounced on the whale. Wang Feng frowned. He knew that the whale was tracked by Fang Jiaoxiao, but after all, it was not the whale's own subjective consciousness, so Wang Feng still had to protect the whale. In fact, without this whale, Wang Feng and his team could have safely returned to the Dongzhou continent by relying on the hurricane, but now, Wang Feng has already recognized this whale, not to mention that the whale's current troubles are caused by Wang Feng and his team, so Wang Feng will certainly not sit idly by. Kill, Wang Feng roared, and then directly switched the apocalypse blade to the apocalypse bow. Then, countless sharp arrows flew towards the great white sharks that pounced on the whale while his arms were vibrating. Xiao Wu and his team missed the attack of the great white shark. Although they also killed the great white shark in front of them, there were more great white sharks that passed them and rushed towards the whale behind them. Hearing Wang Feng's words at this time, they turned around without hesitation and rushed towards the great white sharks that had caught up with the whale. As a marine mutant beast, the speed of the whale is actually not inferior to these great white sharks, but now it has to take into account the hurricane and the instrument on its back, and dare not exert its full speed, so it will be caught up by these great white sharks. Puff, 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 seeing the great white shark approaching, the dark bloodthirsties on the whale's back jumped into the sea and attacked the great white sharks. Before, when Chris fell asleep, he ordered them to protect the whales, so now seeing these great white sharks attacking the whales, they began to fight back. It must be said that these dark devourers, because they are not afraid of death, and they are not afraid of death, so the effect of their attacks is even better than Wang Feng and his men. They only know how to carry out the mission and don't know how to protect themselves, so as soon as they come up, they are desperate. A dark devourer rushes up and hugs the great white shark that attacks him with its mouth wide open, and then 2 or 3 dark devourers behind him rush up to kill the great white shark. Although the dark bloodthirsty who entangled the great white shark at the beginning has been bitten into 2 pieces, after all, their enemies have been killed by them, so these dark devourers have no regrets about the death of their companions, they just want to complete the mission. In some ways, these dark bloodthirsty people may be more able to obey orders than real soldiers, although Wang Feng still doesn't know how Chris controls these half-zombie, half-human guys. These dark bloodthirsty people killed more than 30 great white sharks right away. Although they also lost more than 30, they still shocked Wang Feng and his team. You know, the 6 of them didn't kill 10 great white sharks together. Now it seems that these dark bloodthirsty people have become the main force in the battle. Fang Jiaojiao was also shocked, because she controlled the great white shark king, so she could know the loss of this group at the first time. After knowing that she had lost about 1/3 of her troops but didn't kill any enemies, Fang Jiaojiao's eyes flashed with a fierce look, and she said to the great white shark king under her, Ziobai. Let them explode. Self-explosion. When a mutant beast encounters an irresistible enemy, Its last resort is to kill itself together with the enemy, which is to concentrate all the life energy in its body and then explode. This huge amount of energy can certainly make the mutant beast that triggers the self-explosion disappear directly, and it will also take its opponent into hell together. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 597. Hearing Fang Jiao's words, the great white shark king under her instinctively struggled in his heart and exploded. Once it really did this, all these great white sharks would die here, and it would become a commander without troops. This is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that among these great white sharks, there are also its partners and children. Let it personally order to kill them. For the great white shark king, of course there will be resistance. But now it has been controlled by Fang Jiao's mental power and cannot resist her orders. All it can do is delay this order for a while. Boom. Boom boom boom, with the explosion of the first great white shark, a series of dull loud noises sounded one after another, and the sea area where Wang Feng and others were located suddenly boiled. Ang, a high-pitched cry sounded from the mouth of the whale. Although it has been trying its best to escape, there are still several great white sharks chasing after it. Just now, these great white sharks exploded at the same time, instantly causing severe damage to the whale. Since it was chasing behind it, the whale's head was not injured by the explosion of the great white shark. But its tail was severely damaged, and more than half of it was blown off, even the bones were exposed. The injured whale could no longer care about anything else and struggled desperately to swim away. The great white sharks exploded all at once, not only causing great damage to the whale, but also causing great trouble to Wang Feng and others. Because the explosion was too sudden, and Wang Feng and others had never encountered this kind of attack before, they did not have any precautions, especially when the great white sharks exploded. Wang Feng and Xiao Wuqiujian and others, each of them had a different number of great white sharks around them. These sharks exploded without warning, leaving Wang Feng and others no time to react. Even Wang Feng did not have time to launch the gale and leave the battlefield, let alone others. When the great white shark's body suddenly exploded, Wang Feng only had time to protect his head with both hands. In fact, his head was not fatal at the moment, it was just his subconscious reaction. However, Wang Feng was still lucky. At this time, there were only two great white sharks around him, and they were in the same direction, so Wang Feng did not suffer the most from the explosion. When the white sharks exploded collectively, Fang Jiao and the king of great white sharks had already hidden aside in advance and were not affected by the explosion. Looking at the blood-red sea ahead, Fang Jiao's face showed an ecstatic look. Although she knew that the mutant beasts could explode, she did not expect that the power of the explosion was so great. She was already far away from the explosion area, but she still felt the terrifying impact. In her opinion, if she could feel such a strong impact even from such a distance, then Wang Feng and others who were in the explosion area must have been killed. Controlling the great white shark king to rise to the surface of the sea, Fang Jiao looked at the whale that was fleeing in panic in the distance, and did not directly order the great white shark king to chase it, but swam towards the sea area where the explosion just happened. The whale was not Fang Jiao's main target. What she cared about most now was whether Wang Feng had died in this huge explosion. As long as Wang Feng died, Fang Jiao would not care even if the whale ran away. Although Fang Jiao believed that Wang Feng and his men would definitely die in such a violent explosion, she was always unsure before she really confirmed it. Moreover, even without the sky eye, Fang Jiao could see that the whale had been seriously injured, with only a small half of its tail left, and it was moving very slowly. After confirming the situation of Wang Feng and his men, it would be completely in time to chase it. Because it was a self-explosion, the group of great white sharks did not even leave a corpse, but used their own flesh and blood to dye the sea area a blood-red color. It was also because of the change in color of the sea water that Fang Jiao could not confirm whether Wang Feng and others were dead, So she controlled the great white shark to approach the sea area. Just as they approached the edge of the Red Sea area, a sharp arrow suddenly flew out of the sea water and shot towards Fang Jiaojiao's heart. Fang Jiaojiao was shocked and dodged to the right in a hurry. Puff, the sharp arrow pierced through Fang Jiaojiao's left chest directly, bringing a burst of blood rain. Fang Jiaojiao screamed and quickly lay on the king of great white sharks to reduce her target, and then tried to control the king of great white sharks to escape far away. Without thinking, Fang Jiaojiao also knew that Wang Feng had survived the violent explosion just now, and he was still able to attack her now. However, just when Fang Jiaojiao was about to escape, something happened that neither Fang Jiaojiao nor Wang Feng had expected. The great white shark king under Fang Jiaojiao, at the moment Fang Jiaojiao was shot, took advantage of the moment when Fang Jiaojiao was mentally injured, and actually broke free from Fang Jiaojiao's control and regained his freedom. This great white shark king was originally barely controlled by Fang Jiaojiao, and just now she asked the great white shark king to make all the great white sharks in his tribe explode together. Although the great white shark king was controlled and could not resist, the resistance in his heart caused Fang Jiaojiao's control to loosen. At the moment Fang Jiaojiao was shot, the great white shark king finally seized the moment when Fang Jiaojiao's mind was relaxed and broke free from her control. At the moment of getting rid of control, the king of great white sharks sank suddenly and rushed forward, throwing Fang Jiaojiao off his back, then flicked his tail, turned back, opened his bloody mouth, bit Fang Jiaojiao, who was full of fear, and then twisted his body to tear Fang Jiaojiao's body apart in an instant. Even so, the king of great white sharks still did not give up. As his mouth opened and closed, he tore Fang Jiaojiao's body into countless pieces, until he could no longer find a slightly larger body, and then the king of great white sharks stopped. Roar! After tearing Fang Jiaojiao to pieces, the king of the great white shark let out a mournful cry towards the blood-red sea, then circled twice in place, pointed his huge head at the sea 3 times, and then twisted his body and left here. After the great white shark left, a head suddenly emerged from the sea. It was Wang Feng. Wang Feng's current image was somewhat miserable. His scalp had been torn off by the impact of the shark's self-explosion, revealing a pale skull. His face had also disappeared, and his black and white eyeballs were directly exposed. The flesh on his arms had also been lost, and his 2 arm bones were directly exposed. He looked a bit like a mutant skeleton. However, although his image was miserable, at least he was still alive. Moreover, due to the existence of the life core, although his injuries looked horrible, it would probably take less than a day or 2 for Wang Feng to recover. At this time, the muscles on Wang Feng's face kept twitching. Without the protection of the skin, he was immersed in the sea water. The taste can be imagined, but Wang Feng obviously didn't have time to care about these things now. He turned his head and looked at the surrounding sea surface, trying to find the traces of Xiao Wu and others. In the explosion just now, the only one Wang Feng could confirm that he would not die was the Devourer number 7. After all, his body is made up of life energy. As long as the core of consciousness is not destroyed, it is quite difficult to kill him, but Qiu Jian and Xiao Wu and others are different. Qiu Jian is a human, and he is also agile. He does not have a life-saving skill like Lu Feng's invincible impact. Although Xiao Wu and Qingxun are zombies, they don't have any fatal weaknesses, but if they are blown to pieces, they will also perish. Xiao Yi, Wang Feng tried to call Xiao Wu and others, but found that because the skin on his face was torn off by the shockwave just now, he couldn't make a normal sound at all. After confirming that no one else had come up from the sea, Wang Feng dived into the water and looked around. Fortunately, although his eyeballs were now without the protection of the skin and were directly soaked in the sea water, the ability of the sky eye was still there. In this red sea water, he could still see far away. As soon as Wang Feng entered the sea water, he found a figure below, swimming towards him. It was the Devourer number 7. The explosion just now did not seem to have any major impact on him. At this time, number 7 looked no different from before, not as embarrassed as Wang Feng at all. In fact, in the explosion just now, number 7 was also blown off his upper body because he was not on guard, but fortunately his consciousness core was not destroyed, so number 7 collected his body that was blown away and reassembled it together. After that, he saw Wang Feng, so he swam towards Wang Feng. Seeing number 7, Wang Feng was not surprised. He originally thought that number 7 would definitely not die, and it was expected that he could see him. So after confirming that it was number 7, Wang Feng searched around again, hoping that he could see Xiao Wu, Qiu Jian, and others. While swimming in the sea, while searching around, Wang Feng felt a bad feeling in his heart, because if Xiao Wu and Qiu Jian were alive, they should have appeared now. Could it be that the shark's self-explosion just now caused them all to perish here? At this time, the fleeing whale also slowly stopped, with only a small half of its tail left, so even after tossing for so long, it did not run far. As for its back, now only the sealed instrument is still there. The hurricane had long been driven by Zhang Ruhao and had left the back of the whale, heading towards the sea where Wang Feng was. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 598. Just when Wang Feng's heart was sinking and he thought that Xiao Wu and the others had all perished, a broken body appeared in his sight. This body was slowly falling into the deep sea. The legs and left arm had disappeared. The only right hand still connected to the body was still tightly holding a long sword. This person was Qiu Jian. Qiu Jian had lost consciousness at this time, but Tiankai could still feel a slight energy fluctuation from his body, which meant that Qiu Jian was not dead. With Qiu Jian's strength, as long as he did not die on the spot, Wang Feng would be sure to pull him back from the gates of hell. Quickly approaching Qiu Jian, and then lifting him out of the sea, seeing Wang Feng appear, Zhang Ruhao hurriedly drove the hurricane to Wang Feng's side, and then Wang Feng put Qiu Jian into the car of the hurricane, pried open his teeth, poured a bottle of life potion, and then jumped into the sea again to find Xiao Wu and the others. As soon as he jumped down, he saw number 7 dragging Qianqian and Qingxun to swim towards the hurricane. Wang Feng was overjoyed and hurried over to help. Qianqian and Qingxun were lucky, especially Qianqian. It seemed that when the white shark exploded, Qianqian was protected by Qingxun, so even her body remained intact. Qingxun lost an arm, but at least his life was not in danger, and the life energy fluctuations in his body were stronger than Qiu Jian, but because of the severe impact, the two were now in a coma. After settling the two people in the hurricane, Wang Feng and number 7 searched in the sea for a long time again, but they did not find any trace of Xiao Wu. After searching for an hour, Wang Feng finally gave up the search helplessly. After Wang Feng returned to the hurricane, the whale had swam back and was now safe. The white shark group was originally the overlord of the sea. Their arrival had already scared away the marine mutant beasts in the nearby waters. In addition, the sharks exploded collectively just now, so there are no other creatures in the sea area now. Wang Feng looked at the big box still carried on the whale's back and breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, because of Xiao Wu's disappearance, Wang Feng almost forgot about this instrument. Fortunately, the whale still needed Wang Feng's life source, so even if it wanted to escape, it still didn't throw away the big box. However, when Wang Feng checked the big box, he unexpectedly found that the metal box containing the instrument was blown open by the shark's explosion, revealing the instrument inside. Because he was not familiar with this instrument, Wang Feng didn't know whether the instrument was damaged at this time, and Chris was still asleep at this time, so there was no way for him to check it. However, Wang Feng remembered that Chris had said before that this instrument could not be exposed to sea water and could not be subjected to severe vibrations. Now it seems that there is some trouble. After looking at the whale's injuries, Wang Feng shook his head, then asked Tiankai to synthesize a bottle of life essence, and then poured it on the whale's severely injured tail so that its injuries could recover faster. After all, they are still in the sea, and Wang Feng still needs this whale, especially the instrument on its back. According to Chris, this instrument is necessary for his research and experiments. Now the outer packaging is damaged. I don't know if the instrument will be affected. Looking at the vast sea around him, Wang Feng sighed, and finally made a decision helplessly, changing the original plan and preparing to go to the south continent first. Now their location is closest to Zizhu, the farthest from Dongzhou, and the north and south continents are almost the same. Now Wang Feng must reach a land as soon as possible, and then find a way to repair the outer packaging of the instrument, otherwise it will be exposed now. If there is any unexpected situation outside, causing the instrument to be damaged, it will be a big trouble. Even Wang Feng suspected that the instrument was damaged now, because even the metal box outside was destroyed by the shock wave. A corner, and the inside must have been severely impacted. However, things have already come to this, and Wang Feng has no other way but to try to remedy the situation. The first thing is to go to a continent first, and then think of other ways after getting down to Earth. They had just left the western continent, so although it was the closest, Wang Feng did not intend to go back, so he simply went to the southern continent to take a look. It happened that he had never been there, and it would be good to take a look at the situation in the southern continent. After making the decision, Wang Feng let the whale hold up the hurricane and began to move towards the southern continent. After this period of recuperation, especially Wang Feng gave it a bottle of life source, the whale's injuries have recovered a lot, and its tail has grown a lot again. Although it has not fully recovered, it can at least move forward. After drifting on the sea for another 6 days, Wang Feng and his team finally arrived at the southern continent. At this time, Qingxun and Qianqian had woken up and their bodies had almost recovered. Qiu Jian was still in a coma because of his serious injuries, but his body had still recovered for the most part, and it was estimated that he would wake up in the next 2 days. As for Xiao Wu, Wang Feng understood that he was most likely dead. Even if he didn't die on the spot, he would die after sinking into the sea. Although zombies don't need to breathe, the place where they fought before can be said to be the center of the sea. After sinking into the deep sea, the terrifying water pressure alone was enough to crush Xiao Wu into a pulp, not to mention that Xiao Wu should still be in an unconscious coma. Qianqian and Qingxun naturally knew about Xiao Wu's disappearance, so the two of them were in a very low mood during this period. They were lucky. When the shark exploded, there happened to be a few dark bloodthirsty around them, helping them to resist most of the impact, so they were not killed on the spot. When Wang Feng was looking for Xiao Wu, he also found a few dark bloodthirsty who were not completely dead, but for them, neither Wang Feng nor Number 7 was interested in helping them, and let them sink into the sea. After arriving at the Nanzhou continent and landing on land, Wang Feng and Number 7 first carried the instrument to a place far away from the sea, then dismantled the wooden and metal packaging boxes outside, and wiped off all the seawater on the instrument. Then Wang Feng left everyone to guard the instrument and headed towards the depths of the continent alone, intending to see the situation here first. Qianqian and Qingxun had not fully recovered, so Wang Feng left Number 7 there to prevent any accidents. They were in a small village. Wang Feng searched the village carefully and found no living creatures. And from the dust accumulated in the village, it seemed that no one had lived here since the end of the world. However, it was understandable that there were no humans, but it was a bit strange that there was not even a zombie. So Wang Feng decided to leave Number 7 in the village and go deep into the mainland to find someone to ask about the situation here. In addition, he had to find something to repack the instrument. Wang Feng left for more than 2 days. Chris and Johnny also woke up from their coma one after another. Qiu Jian had almost recovered at this time, and his lost legs and left arm had grown again. However, because they didn't know where Wang Feng went, they didn't leave, but stayed in the village, waiting for Wang Feng to return. As for the instrument, Chris checked it, but because there is no power supply here, Chris can't tell whether the instrument is damaged or not, but from the appearance, it should be no problem. At this time, Wang Feng has already run to many places in the South Continent. What makes him feel strange is that in the past 2 days, he has been searching almost non-stop, not to mention living people, he didn't even find a zombie. The creatures on the South Continent seem to be collectively missing, and no living creatures can be seen. Even mutant plants, Wang Feng didn't find a single one in the past 2 days. The entire South Continent gave Wang Feng a very weird feeling. If the small village before was remote, it was normal that there were no people or zombies, but after 2 days, there was still no discovery, which was a bit wrong. In the past 2 days, Wang Feng also went to some large cities, but still found nothing: humans, zombies, mutant beasts, mutant insects, none of these. After a careful search in these cities, Wang Feng found some traces of human life, and also found some bloodstains left at least 3 months ago. As for whether these bloodstains were from humans, mutants, or zombies, Wang Feng could not tell. However, from these findings, it seems that there were human survivors in the South Continent after the end of the world, but now, for some unknown reason, they all disappeared. Could it be that there were lunatics who wanted to rule the world in the South Continent, just like in the West Continent, so all the survivors here hid? But even if they hid underground, Wang Feng, who had the apocalypse, should be able to feel their life energy fluctuations and find them. Now that he has been in the South Continent for more than 2 days, Wang Feng, who has not found anything, feels the weirdness of the South Continent, so he changed his direction and ran towards a mountain. The city is all empty. Wang Feng does not believe it. Could it be that there are no creatures in the mountains like in the city? No matter what, there should be some mutants or something, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 599. After entering the mountain area, Wang Feng kept running around in the mountains, but soon he felt a chill on his back. No. Nothing. Mutated beasts, zombies, humans, mutant insects, mutant plants, these creatures should be everywhere in the end of the world, but there is none here. The vegetation in this mountain is very lush, with trees and various unknown plants growing lushly, but none of them have mutant characteristics, and the most strange thing is that Wang Feng can't hear any insects or birds in this mountain. In the whole mountain, only the leaves blown by the wind occasionally make a rustling sound, and there is no other sound. Abnormal, this place is definitely abnormal. Wang Feng felt something was wrong. Although he didn't know what happened in the South Continent, he instinctively felt that a crisis seemed to be coming. Let's go. Wang Feng paused, then turned around and rushed out of the mountain. He didn't plan to continue searching in the South Continent. He wanted to go back and meet up with number 7 and the others immediately, then quickly find a way to pack the instrument, and then go out to sea and return to the East Continent. As for here, Wang Feng was sure that something he had never encountered must have happened. Although he also wanted to figure out what happened, Wang Feng didn't have so much time to waste on the South Continent. No matter why the creatures on the South Continent disappeared inexplicably, it shouldn't be figured out in a short time. Wang Feng didn't want to make any more trouble. Even if he wanted to figure out what happened on the South Continent, he had to wait until the matter of the Devourer was resolved. Because when he returned, Wang Feng didn't search everywhere like he did when he came, so it took him just a little more than a day to return to the village where number 7 and the others were. Seeing Wang Feng return, number 7 and others were relieved. In the past 2 days, they had searched the surrounding area and naturally discovered the weirdness of the South Continent, so they had been worried about Wang Feng. Now seeing that he finally returned safely, the stone in their hearts finally fell to the ground. Wang Feng came to the side of the hurricane, without saying much, and waved his hand directly, throwing out some material suitable for packaging the instrument that he found outside. Chris, see if these can wrap the instrument well, act quickly, we are ready to go back. Chris didn't say much, picked up the materials and started to get busy. Zhang Ruhao, Johnny, and Kinksun and his wife also helped. It took about an hour to finally wrap the instrument tightly again. During their busy time, Wang Feng ran to the sea and came to the whale waiting for them in the sea. He looked at the recovery of its wounds, and then gave it a bottle of life source potion, and then returned to the shore. The whale's injuries have almost completely recovered, at least there is no problem with free movement. Seeing this, Wang Feng can be said to have put down half of his worries. His biggest headache now is the instrument that cannot be stored in the apocalypse space. This thing must be used in Chris's research and cannot be damaged. Now the whale has almost fully recovered and should be able to take on the task of transporting the instrument. As long as there are no accidents on the way, there will be no big problem. Now Fang Jiaojiao is dead, and she was torn into pieces by the great white shark king she controlled, and there is no body left. Wang Feng saw the situation clearly at the time, and he could roughly guess the reason, but what he didn't understand at the time was that the great white shark king actually left the sea area directly after killing Fang Jiaojiao, and did not continue to attack him. At that time, due to the self-explosion attack of the shark group, Wang Feng and his team were in a very bad state. If the great white shark king continued to attack them, it would bring them a lot of trouble. At least the whale, which was already seriously injured at that time, would definitely die in the mouth of the great white shark king, and Wang Feng probably didn't have time to look for Qiu Jian and others. It is estimated that the only people who can appear here in the end should be Zhang Ruhao, Chris, and Johnny in the hurricane, plus himself and number 7. The current situation is already quite good. Although Xiao Wu is missing, it seems that he is in danger, but at least the instrument is still there, and the others are basically fully recovered. As long as they can return to the East Continent safely, maybe before the Devourer army attacks, Chris can really find a way to unlock the seal. After returning to the shore, looking at the instrument that has been wrapped again, Wang Feng looked at Chris, wrap it better, there may be some accidents on the way back. Well, there should be no problem. Unless another group of great white sharks explode, otherwise, the instrument should not be damaged. However, if you want to be foolproof, it is best to find a generator and welding tools. I will repair the damaged metal box before Chris nodded and said. When Fang Jiaojiao led a group of great white sharks to attack them, Chris and Johnny were sleeping in the hurricane and had no idea what was happening. However, after they woke up, Zhang Ruhao had already told them everything that happened on the way. Looking at the instrument wrapped like a dumpling, Wang Feng frowned and hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded and said, I'll go look for it, you still stay here and wait for me to come back. After saying that, Wang Feng flashed again and ran towards the distance. Of course, there is no such thing as a generator in this small village, but it should be found in the nearby medium-sized city. The city is not far from here, and Wang Feng arrived here in more than half an hour. In this city, Wang Feng successfully found what he needed, and also unexpectedly found a metal box of the same size as the instrument. Anyway, there is still space in the apocalypse space. Wang Feng simply put the metal box away, and at worst, if it can't be used, just throw it away. After finding what he needed, Wang Feng found enough fuel for the generator in the city, and then he was ready to leave, but before leaving, Wang Feng looked at the tall tower standing in the city, and couldn't help but jump up directly, climbing all the way to the top. This city is just a medium-sized city, not so prosperous, and there are not many high-rise buildings. This iron tower, which is more than 500 meters high, is the tallest building in the city. After climbing to the top, with the help of the sky eye, Wang Feng carefully searched the surroundings. What disappointed him was that there was still no new discovery this time, and there was no moving object in sight. Sighing secretly, Wang Feng shook his head. No matter what happened in the South Continent, he had no time to take care of it now. He should go back quickly, reinforce the instrument, and then return to the East Continent as soon as possible. This is what he needs to do most now. Not enough, just when Wang Feng was about to get off the tower, a light suddenly flashed in the jungle in the distance. Although it was daytime now, Wang Feng could still be sure that this was definitely not his illusion. Looking at that direction, it was not close to Wang Feng, and because of the jungle, even with the sky eye, Wang Feng could not see clearly what the light was just now. However, since arriving at the South Continent, this was the first time that a new discovery was made. Wang Feng looked in that direction without blinking, and just looked at that place intently. From here, if Wang Feng wanted to reach the place where the light was just emitted, even at Wang Feng's speed, it would take at least 1 day, so Wang Feng wanted to confirm it again. About 10 minutes later, the light appeared again, but just like before, it was only on for a short moment and then disappeared. Wang Feng finally determined that there must be something there. Perhaps it was related to the mysterious disappearance of all creatures in the South Continent. After thinking carefully, Wang Feng did not go to that location to check immediately, but chose to go back to number 7 and the others first, and send the materials and generators he collected back to Chris first, and then come to see. If there was no discovery, it would be fine. Since it was discovered, then go over to see the situation. Anyway, it would only take a few days, so it should still be in time. Besides, it would take some time for Chris to reinforce the packaging of the instrument. Back in the village where the hurricane was, Wang Feng told others about his discovery, and then asked others to be careful and be alert. Then he took number 7 with him and went to the place where the light was found. He took number 7 with him because he didn't know what he would see in a while. If someone was needed to pass on the message, he wouldn't have to run back and forth. Anyway, Qiu Jian has completely recovered now. Qian Qian and Qingxun have also returned to their peak state, and they will basically be safe if they stay here. After all, they are now on land, not in the sea. Before the arrival of the Devourer army, there should be no creatures that can threaten them on land. Wang Feng and number 7 ran all the way. After nearly 20 hours, they rushed to the jungle where the light was found before. It was still dark at this time, and it was the darkest time before dawn. Carefully approaching the place where the light was emitted, Wang Feng and number 7 separated the bushes in front of them that blocked their sight and looked forward together. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 600. What appeared in front of Wang Feng and number 7 was something Wang Feng had never seen before. In front of him was something that looked a bit like some kind of ancient formation. On a piece of land about 1 kilometer in radius, all vegetation was cleared and replaced by a large piece of bluestone slabs, which completely covered the land. In the center of the ground covered by bluestone slabs, there was a crystal that Wang Feng could not name. On the bluestone slabs around it, there were many lines that looked a bit irregular, surrounding the crystal. The crystal looked very similar to a diamond, but Wang Feng knew that this thing was definitely not a diamond. This crystal was as big as a basketball, and even without the help of Apocalypse's induction, Wang Feng could clearly feel a strong energy fluctuation emanating from the crystal at such a long distance. The light that Wang Feng saw before was emitted by this crystal. At this time, the crystal looked completely transparent, and there was a lot of white mist inside, slowly filling the crystal. When the white mist in the crystal reached a certain concentration, a bright light flashed, and the crystal became transparent again, and then the white mist appeared again, and the process repeated over and over again. "What is this?" Wang Feng murmured. He had never seen the bluestone slab and the lines carved on it, but he seemed to remember that before the end of the world, The ancient ruins found by archaeologists seem to be somewhat similar to this thing. But the crystal in the middle, no matter how you look at it, does not look like something from ancient times. These two completely unrelated things happen to appear in front of Wang Feng together. Wang Feng now wanted to go forward to study the transparent crystal, but he was afraid that due to his recklessness, he activated this strange-looking thing similar to a formation and caused some big trouble, so he hesitated for a while. Number 7. You. Wang Feng looked at number 7 beside him, ready to ask his opinion, but found that number 7 was staring at the crystal at this time, with a look of fear in his eyes. Wang Feng's heart moved. Could it be that number 7 knew this? Thinking of the missing Devourer commander and those Devourers, Wang Feng couldn't help but have some guesses. This is them building a space-time wormhole, and they have completed the previous preparations. Number 7 looked at the crystal and murmured, with some despair in his tone. We found it too late. Now the construction of this wormhole can no longer be stopped. Do you see that spherical energy block? That is the core of the wormhole. Once it is formed, it cannot be destroyed at all. What we are seeing now is the process of it building a wormhole. Judging from the current size, this process may end at any time. Once the wormhole is successfully built, we are finished. You mean, this wormhole was built by the Devourer, and the other exit is at the mother nest? Wang Feng frowned and asked. Although the technology of their planet is not yet capable of discovering and using wormholes, this idea has been proposed by someone a long time ago, so Wang Feng is not unfamiliar with wormholes. He knew that this thing was actually a time-space tunnel, which could span a very long distance in a very short time. For example, let the Mother Nest army instantly land on their planet. That's right. That's it, number 7 nodded woodenly, looking at the state of the wormhole core. Maybe the wormhole will be successfully constructed in the next moment, and the Mother Nest army will also come. We have no time. Where are the other Devourers? Wang Feng looked around and found no trace of other Devourers, and Apocalypse did not tell him that there were Devourers around. They built the wormhole, don't they need to guard it? Of course not. We can't destroy the wormhole core at all. The formation of the wormhole is irreversible. Number 7 shook his head and said, and now the formation time of this wormhole, no one can be sure it will definitely happen, maybe in the next moment, maybe in a few days, but it will definitely be within 10 days. As for the fact that there are no Devourers guarding around, it is because they don't want to die. At the moment when the wormhole is successfully constructed, a huge energy tide will be generated around its exit, and any creature within the range of this energy tide will be swallowed by it. Speaking of this, number 7 looked at Wang Feng. In other words, if this wormhole is suddenly constructed now, both of us will die. Then why don't you run? Wang Feng jumped up immediately after hearing this. It turned out that he had been standing next to a time bomb and chatting with number 7. It's useless. No one knows how large the range of this energy tide is. If you are unlucky, it can even cover the surrounding area of 100 kilometers, and it is not impossible to cover the entire continent. Number 7 shook his head. Moreover, where can we run to even if we run now? Go back to join them, and then return to the East Continent? Once the wormhole is successfully constructed, the Devourer army will appear here in an instant. Maybe we haven't reached the East Continent yet, and the East Continent is already their world. We are still one step too late. You humans are too late to unlock the seal in your body. Unless you return to Hurricane right now and let Chris figure out a way to unlock the seal, otherwise, we will be destroyed along with this planet. After hearing what number 7 said, Wang Feng also fell silent. The unless, that number 7 said was impossible. Not to mention that there were no conditions for Chris to study and experiment here, there was no place to find the primate mutant beast now. Thinking of this, Wang Feng asked again, number 7. Is the disappearance of all the creatures here related to the Devourer's construction of this wormhole? Of course, number 7 nodded. Perhaps because there was no hope, number 7 calmed down now. He seemed to be completely unconcerned about the wormhole next to him that could explode at any time and swallow him and Wang Feng. Building a wormhole requires a lot of life energy. The bluestone slabs you see are energy blocks made by the devourer. They are all condensed by the life energy after the devourer swallowed the energy of other creatures. Now it seems that the devourer commander disappeared not because he wanted to hide and wait until the mother nest came, but directly summoned all his subordinates to the south continent, and swallowed all the creatures on this continent, built this wormhole here, and prepared to let the devourer army come in advance. The only good news now is that the mother nest itself should not risk entering the wormhole and descending on this planet in its true form, because for her, this is a kind of adventure. The mother nest is a very large, and her body is very similar to a space battleship. In the universe, her power is quite tyrannical, but inside the planet, her weaknesses will be exposed. Therefore, she will not risk entering the planet before confirming the real safety of the planet, not to mention the wormhole, which is not absolutely safe in itself. After the wormhole is successfully constructed, the mother nest will definitely send a large number of devourers and armies to enter your planet through the wormhole. After the army is transmitted, the mother nest should still take the method of slowly flying to this planet. However, at that time, whether the mother nest comes early or late should have nothing to do with us. I am sure that the army sent by the mother nest will be quite large in number. Perhaps there will be hundreds of thousands of devourers at the commander level, and guards at the guard level will definitely appear this time. With such a powerful force, and you don't have time to break the seal, I can't think of what we can use to resist the devourer army. We are dead. When number 7 said the last sentence, he looked at Wang Feng seriously and said in a very affirmative tone. After listening to number 7, Wang Feng looked at the wormhole core again. In his opinion, the wormhole core should also be composed of life energy. Why did number 7 say that the construction of this wormhole is now irreversible? Looking at the wormhole core that is still in the process of building the wormhole, Wang Feng frowned. According to Apocalypse, as long as it is life energy, it should be able to absorb it. Wang Feng felt that no matter whether it could succeed or not, he should go forward and try. Could it be that even his own Apocalypse could not absorb the energy of the wormhole core? Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly felt a little strange. Why is Apocalypse so quiet? Normally, seeing something built by the devourer, this guy should say hello to himself. With his identity, he should know more clearly than number 7, right? You must know that the Apocalypse spirit is now the consciousness of the Apostle John. Although the 12 apostles at the beginning, except for Li Yingning, were only formed by Li Yingning splitting his own consciousness, and they were not complete. But no matter what, Li Yingning is also the prince of the devourer. Even if it is a split consciousness of his, he should know more than number 7, the lowest level devourer, right? Apocalypse. Apocalypse, Wang Feng communicated with Apocalypse in his heart, but unexpectedly, after calling twice, Apocalypse did not respond to Wang Feng for the first time. This was the first time since Wang Feng got Apocalypse. Could it be that Apocalypse was also damaged in the previous Great White Shark self-explosion?